All right, welcome to the Handoff. Jordan, how are things going off in college? Are you staying in shape?
No, I don't really run anymore, to be honest.
Oh, that's disappointing.
Yeah, everything kind of went downhill after high school. Good to be here, though.
All right, Jordan, welcome to the Handoff. You attended Milpitas High School between 2020 and 2024, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And you've graduated, and now you're off to...
UC San Diego.
Oh, nice campus there. That's really cool.
It's beautiful.
In cross country, you put pressure on other runners, usually running in the front group with Aiden Stephanopoulos and other top runners. And in track, I remember you swapped a lot of blows with Adarsh Iyer and also Ben Claridge.
Yes, both very skilled runners. I have a lot of admiration for them.
Yeah, and Adarsh is off to MIT, and Ben Claridge graduated this year. Did you know Ben didn't run?
I did hear about that. I was really sorry to hear that. I hope he's doing okay.
Same thing with Cooper. Yeah. We missed them. Well, let's talk about cross country when you were in high school. Did you have any PRs you want to talk about?
Crystal Springs was probably one of my favorite courses because it was just so brutal and everyone was going through the same thing right there with you. It has a very special place in my heart just because of how difficult it was, but at the same time, how fun. My PR on that course is 15:48 and some change. I was very excited to run a sub-16 time. Unfortunately, that was pretty early on in the season, and I never managed to PR further than that, but I'm still very happy to have one of those sub-16 times that are, I think, in our league considered pretty elite.
In cross-country, did you set any school records for Milpitas?
I did set a few records here and there, but it was mostly due to us running a meet for the first time. It's not exactly breaking a record, it was more just, I was our top scorer throughout senior year, so that usually meant I was the top in the record books when we ran a meet for the first time.
Was there a course that you liked best in cross country?
Yeah, like I said, Crystal Springs was just it was just brutal. Oftentimes it was hot or sometimes it was muddy. And it just seemed like every time we ran that course, there was a new surprise waiting for us. It was just cool to be struggling through something so difficult with all of my friends and teammates near me.
Yeah, I like what Sahil Raj, he said, rocks, sticks, mud, it's whoever gets through all of that first is, gonna win. And you never know what's around the next corner. What did you specialize in track?
In track, I mostly ran the 1600 and 800. I was more of a middle distance guy. I never really liked the longer distance track events. I preferred to do a race where it was fast and quick and I could just dump everything in the tank over a very short period of time. I thought that was, I don't like races where it drags on for forever. So having a short race where I can just, power through it, that was much more my type of race.
Yeah, there was that 800 meter that you did a fast to slow. If I remember correctly, that wasn't even you trying to dominate that race, although you did.
Yeah, that whole season was mostly me just trying to break 2 minutes in the 800. Unfortunately, I never did end up going under 2 minutes. That race, I got pretty close. If I remember correctly, it was a 2:02. I went out the first lap, just absolutely teared it up. I ran something like a 57. Then the second lap, it was just me trying to hold on. I was still well ahead of everyone else. I just couldn't hold that pace, especially in the last 200 meters. It felt like I was starting to get dizzy. And then at the finish line, I almost passed out.
The thing that was really fun to watch about that race is what you did to everybody else's head when you just took off out of the gate as fast as you could to do the first 400 as fast as you could. You could see all the other kids were just like, "What? Oh, it's that kind of race? What?" and then they tried to do the same thing you were doing, and your lead, even though you were dying in the second lap, your lead continued to expand because they couldn't take it. It was
like psychological warfare.
Yeah, it was really a cool race to watch. And then of course I made that Superman short and Superman video, and they have like 900 views, and 120 of them probably just me watching it over and over again for my own amusement. Are there any races in track that you'd like to share? There was that one with you and Ben Claridge really duking it out at Firebird, right?
Yeah, that was it was technically a cross country race. A good portion of it took place on the track.
That's right.
I did manage to eke out the victory against Ben, but it was pretty much just us going at it the whole time. That race was difficult for me because it was hot and it was a struggle to keep that pace. It was pretty early on in the season. and that pace was pretty foreign to me still. It was sub 5. Running sub 5 for a little over 2 miles that early on in the season was definitely very difficult for me, especially since like I said before, I'm not a fan of the longer races that are still fast. Like the 2-milers drain me much more than any other kind of race. I prefer either long and more of a steady pace or short and pretty fast.
Well, you performed well in both scenarios. Let's go ahead and move on to college. You want to share your experience trying to break in?
UCSD, I tried to walk on, but I had to train by myself for months on end. I ran this one 8K in UC Riverside. It was called the Anteater Invitational, if I remember correctly.
It was an all-comers?
No, it wasn't an all-comers. It was an official collegiate race. They took unattached submissions. I was able to run by myself, just representing my private coach's club. That race was probably one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. I did run a pretty respectable time, in my opinion. It was a 26:23 for 8 kilometers. I did manage to beat roughly 4 of the UCSD runners. After the race, I came up to the coach, introduced myself, shook hands. We talked for maybe a minute or two, but I could tell, like, just from his disposition that he wasn't very interested in taking someone like me. So after that, I sort of just gave up on the whole idea, because the private coach is a lot of money and it's a lot of effort ultimately for something that's kind of up in the air and doesn't even look like it's going to happen. So I gave up on competitive running, and I think it's just important to note that this is a story for a lot of people who run in high school and expect to run in college. So I looked it up. It's about 7% of high school athletes play in college. You know, that's still a very low statistic. Fortunately, I just happen to be one of those people who didn't make it. If you're a high school athlete aspiring to run in college, or, you know, do whatever sport in college, it's just important to know that it's a pretty rare thing. You need to manage your expectations so that if you are let down, that you can still deal with it and live a happy life.
I'm sorry that didn't work out for you. What is your major?
I study chemical engineering.
Are you on the quarter system?
I am on the quarter system. It's very fast, very brutal.
What classes were most interesting to you last quarter?
So at the start of college, I was pretty scared of physics because I never took it in high school, and it was just a bit of a foreign concept to me. Once I got through my mechanics class, you know, like classical mechanics, I started to appreciate it a little more. And then the next course in that sequence was electromagnetism. I actually enjoyed electromagnetism quite a bit. It's mostly about how electrons and electricity works on a microscopic level, and then it also dives into stuff like circuits and magnetism. Lots of very confusing concepts, but once it clicks, it all kind of makes sense. It's pretty fun to try and figure out the problems on your own.
Did you have to employ any vector calculus for that class?
Yeah, in physics, pretty much all physics, there's a lot of vector calculus because these are things happening in the real world. Oftentimes that involves something either in motion or just something that has a direction. So yeah, usually you have to utilize vector calculus.
You outdid your old man. I was I want to say a poser in those classes. Like, I pretended to understand it and I made a lot of extra credit, and I just happened to have a professor that, like, the bell curve was absolutely brutal, and I got through it with things like I'd get a 27 out of 100 and I'd be like, oh no, I failed. And then he would announce there were 4 27s. Those were A's. There were right. It's like, and then the bell curve went. It was so bad. I got through it. I didn't understand anything. So my hat is off to you.
Thank you.
Because at least you're understanding it. Are you currently running?
I do plan to get back into running, but right now is just not the best time for me. So in the near future, I will start running regularly again, and I'll definitely get back into it.
Down in San Diego, where are your favorite places to run? There's a lot of beautiful countryside around there.
There are a lot of beautiful areas near there, but mostly I just run around the outside of the campus. It's technically off campus, but it's still very close by. I keep my car about a mile off campus. That's generally the direction I run in when I go on my runs. Yeah, so there's a lot of beautiful areas to run in San Diego. A lot of the time I don't have the time to drive out to those places, so mostly I just run around campus. It's still very beautiful there. There's a lot of cool architecture, neat buildings. It's mostly flat. There's a few hills here and there, but nothing a casual runner can overcome.
Are you still going to go to all comers or maybe join running clubs?
At the moment, I'm not really considering it because I'm just, still feeling kind of burnt out from the whole experience. Eventually, I do hope to get that itch back to start running in races, and I'm sure that I can make my own training plan and get into decent, if not very good shape, and crush some of those races.
Right on. I'd love to see some of that. Maybe I'll come down and photograph you.
I'd love that.
Are you keeping in touch with any of the athletes from Milpitas or from LG?
I definitely keep in touch with a lot of my Milpitas teammates. I'd like to to note that I'm pretty good friends with the Los Gatos boys, and I like to keep in touch with them too. I was disappointed to hear that a lot of them didn't come back for their senior year to run. I'm still relatively in touch with them, so I'll check in with them and see how things are going. Maybe we can orchestrate a little group run once in a while. I definitely hope to stay connected with a lot of the people I ran with in high school.
What are you doing for a summer job?
For a long while, I was looking for an official summer job, but nothing came through that I was interested in. So I've mostly been doing odd jobs around home for, neighbors. And most of the time that involves weed whacking, yard work, trimming hedges, mostly manual labor that nobody else wants to do. So they pay a guy like me to do it for them. I am making a fair bit of money doing that.
You're a self-employed gardener is what you are. Who do you look up to in the world of running?
I was thinking of saying Alex, but that's kind of, I don't know. So a person I look up to in the world of running is my former track and cross country coach, Johannes. He was one of the people who got me into running in the first place. He was always very nice, very supportive. He talked to me on an individual level a lot, tried to figure out what drove me, what I could do better. But he was always, super nice, very helpful. I love the guy. He's super nice, probably one of the nicest people I've ever met. He's one of the main reasons why I went so far.
I have never heard a negative adjective used in reference to Coach Johannes. Everybody loves the guy.
Just an amazing guy.
Yeah, so giving. Do you have any advice for potential athletes going into cross country or track at the freshman level?
When I started out, I was pretty slow. I was running the 5K at Baylands in like a little over 20 minutes for the first few times. There was one day where I had a race. I was in one of the slower heats, but I I took off ahead of everyone else in that heat, and I got to the finish line, and I thought to myself, wow, maybe there's, something more I can pursue in this sport. Me and my brother kind of at the same time decided to start taking it more seriously, and it just, we kept getting better and better. We got to where we are today. And I think that if you dig deep, look inside yourself and see your own potential, it's important to realize that, decide for yourself whether or not it's something you want to give your full energy and attention to, because it can open up a lot of doors. You kind of just have to decide for yourself if it's worth it to you.
Well, pretty good advice. All right, guys. Well, this is Jordan Althouse, my second son. Used to run for Milpitas High School, set some pretty respectable PRs, and even set a couple of records as the initial bar for Milpitas High School. Wasn't able to get into San Diego's running scene down in UC San Diego. That's not stopping him. He's going to continue to run. He's going to continue to go to all comers and just basically stay with it because he's got talent. Thank you so much for being on the Handoff, Jordan.
Thanks for having me.
Really appreciate it, and wish you all the luck with your chemical engineering down in UC San Diego.
Thank you.